this work in an anarcho-capitalist society. So anarcho-capitalism, as you probably know, it's an ideology, sort of like extreme libertarianism, where you completely eliminate the government and you just have markets for everything. Now, I'd like to start with a disclaimer that I don't really know how an anarcho-capitalist society is going to turn out. I'm not Cassandra. I don't have a crystal ball to see the future. This is all speculation based on my own thoughts. I have based my ideas pretty heavily on Rothbard's work, Ethic of Liberty, but all the ideas here are my own. If I make mistakes, they're my own mistakes. I don't want you to attribute to them. I personally advise you to read his work, Ethics of Liberty, for a much better discussion on this subject. And then I just want to say that this is a highly complicated topic. I'm probably going to make mistakes. I'm probably not going to articulate everything as clearly as I should. So, my apologies in advance. Let's get into it. So, the first thing, of course, we're going to eliminate the state. It's not going to have a state. Why? Well, we don't like state monopolies. We don't like taxes, which are collected through extortion, the threat of violence, coercion. We prefer voluntary transactions and trades. We prefer exchanges. So instead of your taxes being collected and then going to pay the police, you would just pay the police directly, maybe like a subscription, $30 a month, something like that. And as a result of eliminating state monopolies and having market competition, you're going to get better service and or lower costs or some combination thereof, because the firms have to compete for your business. So they're going to be more incentivized if you're the victim of a crime, even a small crime. They're going to be more incentivized to do something about it, and you're going to end up getting charged less because the firms are going to compete on the basis of cost as well as efficiency. So you would still have cops, courts, probably even jails. They would just be ran by the market, not the state. So you would have different firms. You would have court firms. You would have police firms, jail firms, etc. Now, the jails would probably not be as full as they are nowadays. A lot more things would not be criminalized. Victimless crimes, we wouldn't have any victimless crimes. Drugs, drug using, drug dealing. So there would be some reforms there, and then also there's things in today's system like probation, and then there's just like an over-criminalization where there's a lot of nonsense procedural stuff that we would like to sort of trim down. So now you have the concept of dispute resolution organizations, which I believe is David Friedman's idea. And he says basically, so you would pay the dispute resolution organization, and they would handle conflict between you and other people, and also other people would have dispute resolutions, at least some of them, dispute resolution organizations. So that's one mechanism by which conflict can be dealt with in a free society, is these dispute resolution organizations, which sort of have set procedures for dealing with each other, set courts that they're going to use, and so on and so forth. And they would sort of handle any sort of situation you got yourself in, to both prosecuting criminals for you or any sort of dispute. So that's one idea, conception. It's not really something I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not sure I really believe in it. But it's one idea that I wanted to bring up. So another idea is the marriage of criminal and civil law. This is I believe Rothbardian position, my position anyway. So there would be no such thing as a tort or civil law, everything would be criminal because any violation of the law is an invasion of somebody's property rights. So, for example, if you borrow $20 from somebody and you don't pay it back, you've basically stolen $20 from them, right? So it's not a civil matter; it's a criminal matter, or all civil matters are criminal matters. Okay, moving on. So then we have the codified system of law. Just like today, you've got the criminal code, subsection C4 to whatever. We would have a codified system of law, and it'd be very simple because it's all based on property rights and violations thereof. And then you would have also common law, which would help interpret this codified system of law and determine appropriate statutory penalties for violation thereof. Okay, so one question that always comes up in any discussion of a libertarian legal order is, if there's a dispute, how do you determine what court the criminal is tried at? They might want you to try them at the court that is actually just their brother-in-law, who's just gonna find them not guilty. So usually when you have a crime and a criminal, they're not that eager to be brought to justice. So usually you're going to be bringing them to justice, and so you would determine what court you're going to, because you're sort of forcibly hauling them in, especially if it's a serious enough crime. Sometimes you have like a minor dispute, or what we would call a civil dispute, where you have an eager defendant and an eager plaintiff, so to speak, or people that don't need to be hauled in, but are looking to see the dispute resolved. So that's one situation where you could maybe negotiate what court to go to. But in the case of you're actually going out and bringing somebody to justice, you or the organization, the police organization that's doing sort of your dirty work for you, would decide where to bring them, sort of against their will. And yeah, basically you would just decide unilaterally, but you would have to, you would want to pick a fair court, just so that the verdict is widely recognized. And then, some people say, well, how can you bring the criminal to justice? That's not voluntary. I thought it's a voluntary society. So when a criminal does their crime, they violate the victim's rights. This creates a right of redress on the part of their victim, which they could sublet out to third parties to see that criminal brought to justice. So this is one area where, you're not initiating force. You're really just closing the initial force transaction. But it's like self-defense in the sense that you're allowed to use force against this person to bring them to justice because they committed the crime against the individual, allegedly. And there's some mechanisms that can be used to sort of ensure fair courts. Well, so your police agency, they'll have courts that they're going to use. They'll have a professional reputation they need to protect, and they'll want to go to the best court to ensure that they're seen in the highest light. Then once you go to that court, they'll have randomly selected judges. That's one way, to make sure that you're not getting a particular judge you want. The courts should be open to the public, just like the courts are today in North America, and people can analyze the verdicts and watch the cases and make sure everything's on the up and up. Of course, somebody could establish a kangaroo court, but in that case, the verdict would simply be disregarded by the general public, because it would be obvious what's going on there. There's a lot of problems with the present-day court system under government monopoly. You've got huge backlogs of cases, punishment via process. And instead of focusing on restitution, as a libertarian legal order would, you have the various goals of rehabilitation, punishment, deterrence, etc. Yeah, so that's just a brief overview of how a libertarian legal order might result. I hope you enjoyed my video, and please like and subscribe if you did.